Well, sometimes we get it wrong on this program, and when we do, we want to lead with our mistakes. Yesterday at this time, we told you something that just was not true. When we don't make a problem, we'd like to point out everybody else's mistakes, but it's important that we point out our own as well. Yesterday, we played this audio of President Obama talking about GM.
When the American auto industry was on the brink of collapse, more than 1 million jobs at stake, Governor Romney said, let's let Detroit go bankrupt. I said, I believe in American workers, I believe in this American industry, and now the American auto industry has come roaring back, and GM's number one again.
Okay, we could do a whole show just on that one clip, and we did about an hour on it yesterday, and we made a serious error here. I said GM's not number one, and it's not number one, but we want to make sure that we don't mislead you on saying that GM was never not number one. Truth is, Toyota is number one. They were number one before the bailout and during the bailout, and as the bailout was ending, Toyota was number one. Now, if this were just a simple mistake, it could be forgiven. But when you look at the details, it's difficult to come to the conclusion that it was a mistake by this president. It was a mistake on our side saying yesterday, GM's not number one, because that's not giving you the full story. And we want to apologize for that.
Misleading.
However, that was off the top of our head, and to our best recollection, I wasn't giving a speech off of a teleprompter. Let me give you the whole story here. For the year of 2011, GM actually did reclaim the number one worldwide title. But that was relinquished about a month ago, back to Toyota. Now, did the White House miss this news because they're pretty close with the auto workers and everything else? Or is the president doing something extraordinarily disingenuous and taking advantage of his audience? Why did Toyota lose the title? Was it because of the bailouts? They lost the title largely, if not solely, because of the tsunami that ravaged their home country. Before the tsunami, they were outselling GM. The tsunami hits. They fall out of first place until they're able to recover. Remember, they can't make any cars. As soon as they're able to recover and they can rebuild their factories and people's lives are back in shape, they begin making cars again, and they immediately re-grab the number one title. Now, as much as I'd like to say we're number one, after the Enola Gay dropped a bomb, if as soon as everybody's like, hey, let's bury the dead, put a Band-Aid on that, and rebuild, and then they're number one, I don't really think that it's because of my bailout. I think it's because a bomb was just dropped on the city. Obama is acting as if his policies led to the GM comeback when, A, the GM comeback is a thing of a past already. If you want to tout this, it's already over. So it wasn't lasting. If it was just due to the stimulus, it means you need to continually juice the system to be able to get them to sell that many cars. But that's not even true. It wasn't because of the bailout. But if it was, it's already over. So he would have to do a second bailout of GM. But his policies, he's acting as if his policies led to the GM comeback. The second thing, B, is the only reason it happened in the first place was because of a horrific natural disaster that killed 20,000 people, and they put their socket wrenches down and went, you know what, maybe we should bury the dead. We'll get back to building a car a few months later. But believe it or not, what the president did is worse than just ignore those two facts. Because it's not as if Obama is unaware of the effect that the tsunami had on the economy. He knew. He knew. How do I know? Because he's been using it as an excuse for why his stimulus policies haven't been effective.
The economy's already had to absorb an earthquake in Japan, the economic headwinds coming from Europe, the Arab Spring and the rise in oil prices, all of which have been very challenging for the recovery.
Got it? So he's claiming that he's made GM number one with a stimulus, even though it was a tsunami that did it, but he can't pretend he doesn't know the tsunami because he's claiming that the headwinds of the tsunami and other things are exactly what caused the stimulus not to work. He knows he's lying in about 800 different ways. Politicians will twist the truth all the time. They'll do it. And we've all grown up and don't believe everything you hear, all that. But this is way beyond what normal politicians do. Way beyond. He is using a tragedy as an excuse for his failed economic policies. Except when that same tragedy benefits GM and makes one of his policies look good. But he's using the same tragedy and the same stimulus and trying to get it both ways. I've never seen anything like it. This isn't normal. This isn't normal for Washington. This isn't normal for any place on planet Earth. It's not normal. The question is, do we accept this? It's one thing for presidents to say, hey, they're number one. Oh, geez, I thought it was a stimulus. They're not number one. He gave this speech after they were out of number one. He gave this speech after they had been knocked back out. He knew they were not number one anymore.